Kensington, Pennsylvania, where 75,000 textile workers were on strike. Of this number, at least 10,000 were little children. The workers were striking for better pay and better hours. Every day, little children came into the union headquarters, some with their hands off, some with missing thumbs, some with the fingers off at the knuckles. They were stooped little things, round-shouldered and skinny, many of them not even 10 years of age, although the law prohibited anyone working who was not 12 years of age. I asked the newspaper men why they didn't publish facts about child labor in Pennsylvania. They said they couldn't because the mill owners had stock in the papers. Well, I've got stock in these little children, I told them, and I'll arrange a little publicity. We assembled a number of boys and girls one morning in Independence Park, and from there we arranged to parade with banners to the courthouse where we would hold a meeting. A great crowd gathered in the public square in front of the city hall. I put the little boys with their fingers off and their hands crushed and maimed up on a platform. I held up their mutilated and little hands and I showed them to the crowd and made the statement that Philadelphia's mansions were built on the broken bones and quivering hearts and drooping heads of these little children, that their little lives went out to make wealth for the others, that neither state nor city officials paid any attention to these wrongs, that they did not care that these little children were to be the future citizens of this nation. I called upon the millionaire manufacturers to cease their moral murders, and I cried to the officials with the open windows, someday the workers will take possession of your city hall, and when we do, no child will be sacrificed on the altar for your profit. Ha! The officials quickly closed their windows, just as they closed their eyes and their hearts. The reporters quoted my statement that Philadelphia mansions were built on the broken bones and quivering hearts of these little children. The universities discussed it. Preachers began talking. That was what I wanted. Public attention to the issue of child labor. Oh, the matter quieted down for a while, and I concluded that people needed stirring up again. The Liberty Bell that a century ago rang out freedom against tyranny was touring the country, and crowds were coming to see it everywhere. They gave me an idea. These little children were striking for some of the freedom that childhood ought to have, and I decided that the children and I would go on a tour. The children carried knapsacks on their backs, in which was a knife and a fork and a tin cup and plate. One little fella had a drum, and another one had a fife. That was our little band. We carried banners that said, "We want more schools and less hospitals. We want some time to play. Prosperity is here. Where is ours?" I decided to go with the children to see President Roosevelt and ask him to have Congress pass laws prohibiting the exploitation of childhood. I thought that President Roosevelt might see that the middle children and compare them with his own little ones who were spending the summer on the seashore at Oyster Bay. I thought, too, out of politeness, we might call on Morgan in Wall Street, who owned the mines where these many little children's fathers worked. Everywhere we had meetings, showing up with living children, the horrors of child labor, where people were kind. They fed us, gave us a place to sleep in their fields, and I set them to sleep every night with grand stories. As we passed Princeton University in New Jersey, a great crowd gathered, professors and students and other people. "Here's a textbook on economics," I said, pointing to a little chap, James Ashworth. He was 10 years of age, and he was stooped over like an old man from carrying bundles of yarn that weighed 75 pounds. He gets $3 a week, and his sister, who's 14, gets $6. They work in a carpet factory 10 hours a day, while the children of the rich and are getting their higher education. From Jersey City, we marched to Hoboken, then on many miles to New York, where they finally gave us a permit and allowed us, our little army, to come into New York. We marched to 20th Street near Wall Street. I showed them Gussie Rangnew, a little girl from whose childhood had all but gone. Her face was like an old woman's. Gussie packed stockings in a factory 11 hours a day for a few cents a day. The next day, we went to Coney Island. The children had a wonderful day, such as they had never had in their lives. After the exhibition of the trained animals, you may recall, Mr. Bostic let me speak to the audience. There was a backdrop to the tiny stage of the Roman Colosseum with the audience painted in and two emperors sitting down in the front with their thumbs down. Right in front of those emperors, there were empty iron cages, from the animals. I put my little children into the cages, and they clung to the iron bars while I talked. We want President Roosevelt to hear the wail of the children who never have a chance to go to school, but work 11 and 12 hours a day in the textile mills of Pennsylvania, who weave the carpets that you walk upon, and the lace curtains in your windows, and the clothes of your people. In Georgia, where children work day and night in the cotton mills, they've just passed a bill protecting the songbirds. What about the little children from whom all song is gone? I will tell the president that the prosperity he boasts of is the prosperity of the rich, wrung from the poor and the helpless. The trouble is that no one in Washington cares. I saw our legislators in 1 hour pass 3 bills for the relief of the railways. But when labor cites and cries for the aid of children, they will not listen. I asked a man in prison once how he happened to be there, and he said he had stolen a pair of shoes. I told him if he had stolen a railroad, he would be a United States Senator. We're told that every American boy has a chance of being president. I tell you that these little boys in iron cages would sell that chance any day for a good square meal and a chance to play. These poor little toilers, whom I've taken from the mills, deformed, dwarfed in body and soul, with nothing but toil before them, have never heard that they have a chance, the chance of every American male citizen to become the president. You see those monkeys over there in the cages? And I pointed to a side cage. The professors are trying to teach them to talk. But the monkeys are too wise, for they fear that the manufacturers would buy them and turn them into slaves in their factories. We marched down to Oyster Bay. But the president refused to see us, and he would not answer my letters. But our march had done its work. We had drawn attention of the nation to the crime of child labor. And while the strike of the textile workers back in Kensington was lost, and the children driven back to work, not long afterwards, Pennsylvania legislature passed a child labor law that sent thousands of children home from the mills and kept another 1,000 of others from entering the factory until they reach the age of 14 years of age.